Welcome and good morning to Mike Ferry TV. This is going to be a fun session for you, I believe. It's one of my favorite things to talk about, although I have to say to you, I've been talking about these topics for probably now 15 years, and if I could ever get the majority of you to listen and to adapt to and adopt these philosophies, I think it is a money-making good session for you today. And I'm going to date myself now a lot, I'm going to guesstimate probably 45, 48 years ago, long time ago, I was in my early 20s, I was invited to attend a seminar in Newport Beach, California. And it was very expensive. It was $2,000 for 5 days. And the man conducting the seminar was somebody that I have nothing but respect for. His name was Larry Wilson, out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, the Wilson Learning Institute. And this particular seminar that he put on, and it was very small, it was only 20 people in the program, was designed to help us understand how people see us and understand who people are so we could close a higher percentage of the people that we talk to. Or in essence, he was teaching us to understand personality styles. In the first day of this class, Larry spent virtually from 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night going through something all of you already know, which is the 4 basic personality styles. And of course, they are the driver personality, the amiable personality, the expressive personality, and the analytical. Now, there's many books written on these topics, seminars being done, many different ideas of what these 4 categories should be called, but this was what Larry originally came up with. I was fascinated by this. I mean, it just was fascinating because prior to attending the seminar, we were given a list of about 100 questions. And we had to give the 100 questions to 10 people that we knew, any types of people that we knew. And they had to answer the questions. They sent that information to Larry Wilson's company. He computerized and formulated that. And based on that, then he could tell us which of the 4 styles we were. Well, my style, I know it's hard for you to believe, of the 4, analytical, driver, expressive, amiable, my style was that of a driver. Now that means that one of the things that I like to do is I like to be straightforward. I like to get to the end result quickly. I like to stay in control. I don't like to waste a lot of time. Anybody that knows me understands this. Well, what's interesting is we spent the day going through the 4 styles, and he categorized each of these 4, gave us descriptions, gave us words we could look at, gave us really details that virtually when you thought about it, you could actually almost talk to a person for 5 minutes and you could understand which of the 4 styles they were if you're willing to ask questions and listen to the answers. Now, stop. How does that relate to a real estate agent? Every seller, every buyer is one of the 4 styles. If we are willing to ask the questions that we recommend you ask, and then listen to the answers, you can determine if you can get yourself out of the way and remove your ego. You can determine very quickly, and I mean very quickly, you can determine which of the 4 styles the person is that you're talking to. So the next morning, second day of the class, Larry reviewed this entire process with us. Then he assigned each of the 20 of us a partner. And I had a man across the room that I was partnered with. And Larry gave us about 30 minutes to sit down and ask questions of the person to determine their personality style. And then they would ask us questions to determine ours. So I'm sitting with a guy that was a sharp guy and very tailored, well-dressed, very dynamic. And I said to him, "What kind of work do you do?" "Well, I'm managing a real estate company." I said, "Well, that's interesting. That's my field." And I said, "What do you want to do?" "I want to be a motivational speaker. I want to stand up." I said, "Wow, that's interesting. I would like to do that myself someday." Well, we had a wonderful conversation. Then I said, "What is your background?" Now he flew B-52 jet bombers. Now think about that. Flew those. He was part of the Blue Angels. He flew in that formation with that group. Now, I very quickly determined you could not do those 2 jobs unless you were highly analytical. Well, after we all spent this half hour, then Larry asked each of us to stand up and to tell the group who the person is, what their background is, and what their personality style is based upon the questions we asked and the answers. So I said, "Here's my friend, And based upon his answers and so forth, he is highly analytical. And it was kind of cute. He actually jumped up and he looked at me in the group and he said, I am not, and I can give you 10 to 12 reasons why I'm not. Only an analytical would do that. Well, it was the most fascinating 5 days to learn how to view who people are, to learn how to see who people are. And I want to suggest to you that every one of you do not have to take a class for 5 days. But I'm going to suggest to you that if you would take all the scripts we give and you practice and rehearse and you role play like your broker, your manager, your coach, or I ask you to do. And when you role play and practice, you learn them better. And then you have the ability to listen more intently to what they're saying. And if you observe the people that you're talking to and you watch their response patterns and you look at how they live and look at their lifestyle, you'll very quickly, if you're willing to ask the questions, determine who the personality is. And when you determine the personality, guess what? You have a huge advantage because, see, the truth is you can then sell them because you know who they are. See, for example, an analytical seller. If you walk in and you happen to be expressive and you're all excited and jumping up and down and you're talking and talking and talking, that doesn't get the analytical seller very excited. Mr. Seller, I'd like to ask you a couple questions. You have a price in mind for your home, is that correct? Well, yes, I do, $395,000. Great. Could you take a few minutes now and tell me the steps you went through to get to that price so I can better represent you? Well, to an analytical, that's like heaven. Or I'm sitting talking to an expressive. Mr. and Mrs. Expressive, tell me what you want me to tell the buyers about your wonderful home so I can get them as excited about your property as you are about owning this property. Oh my God, I want you to tell them this and this. Highly expressive. Mrs. Amiable, I can appreciate the fact that you want somebody to love this home as much as you love this home. So I have two questions. Question one, who do you know that might want to own this home and love it and care for it the way you have? And number two, is there anything you want to make sure I tell a potential buyer about your property so they can enjoy this property as much as you and your family has? Or I'm talking to a driver. I'm assuming you want to get the home sold, is that correct? Yes. And I'm assuming you want to start the process now. Is that right? Yes. Would you sign the contract, please? So by pre-qualifying, listen carefully, by pre-qualifying and following the process we teach, you can find out who they are. But then the second 2.5 days of Larry's class, which was to me the most fascinating, where he talked about the word versatility. Versatility, the ability to adapt to a variety of people, a variety of situations in a variety of ways. And in that test he gave to those 10 people on the 100 questions, he was testing our versatility. How quickly can we adapt? How quickly can we adapt to somebody different than ourselves? So he taught us a lot about the importance of versatility because, see, if I'm analytical as a listing agent and I'm talking to a driver, the driver doesn't want 16 reasons why. I have to adapt to them. If I'm expressive and I'm talking to an amiable, I have to adapt to them. It is my job to adapt to the prospect and the client. It is not their job to adapt to me. So then, how do you develop higher versatility? I wrote down some thoughts. Number one, learn to ask questions instead of talking all the time. If you want to develop versatility, ask questions. The Mike Ferry scripts are all questions. They're made for a person that wants to develop versatility. Second, listen carefully to the answer because, see, if you're listening and you're paying attention, they tell you who they are, what they want, and how it's going to happen. I wrote down third, you have to quit having to be right. If you want to have high versatility, you have to quit having to be right. I wrote down number four, remove your ego. You don't have to walk in, hey, I'm number one, I'm really cool. You don't have to do that if you have versatility because they may not care if you're number one. I wrote down number five, to develop versatility, get out of your box. You have a style, you have a particular manner, move outside that to see how the rest of the world operates. I wrote down number six, put yourself in uncomfortable situations and watch your own response and how you react so you can develop versatility. So in essence, what I'm saying to you is Spend more time watching Mike Ferry TV. Get involved in our coaching. Go to more of our events. Sign up for our July Superstar Retreat. Read more great books about great people. Ask more questions. Spend more times with good agents that you're meeting through your board of realtors in your community. Develop the versatility, and you develop the ability to work with more people more effectively. The biggest problem in real estate is when an agent can only work with people just like themselves. And if they don't meet enough people like themselves, they can't sell a lot of real estate. Great agents have great versatility. Great agents understand the value of growing and learning. Let's make sure that this week we grow and learn at least a little bit to develop more versatility. Look forward to talking to you next week.